This is my AEW Dynamite review, the first show post Revolution. I missed the first hour of the show, but the hour that I did watch, I liked it. Like, I did watch the end of the Speedball Mike Bailey and Beast Motors match. Like, it was a little bit clunky from what I saw. I saw like the last 2 3 minutes. And also, the crowd was pretty weird for me, I would say. Like it felt like they did cheer at certain periods, like if someone hit like a big move or if someone won some spots in the match, but then most of the matches they're like dead silent apart from few things even in segments. So it felt like a very weird crowd to me. I didn't like was able to like determine whether they are interested or not, and it took me out of some matches, like the Penelope Ford and Willow Nightingale match. Like it went on for too long. First is Willow Nightingale is a very infectious personality. Like her positivity rubs off on you. Pause. But second of all is that I saw Willow Nightingale, taking out Roderick Strong's wife, and she's back to te 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 te, and I was like, what are we doing here? She was having a match with Penelope Ford, a very long, boring match which Willow won in the end. Then Penelope attacked her with a chair. People saying that the chair shot was bad. Maybe I didn't notice, but I didn't mind it. Then Chris Statlander came out and like I'm not like, oh, they are like trying to continue the Statlander thing again. But then Megan Bain came out and then she attacked Statlander anyways. So it does. So they are really giving a lot to Megan Bain because earlier in the show, from what the snippets that I saw, like Megan Bain attacked Tony Storm too. So she's probably taking the title of Tony Storm because the way that they're pushing her, I don't I don't see her losing to Tony because then that will just kill whatever momentum that they have. Like they're pushing her hard. Like she's not going after Mercedes. She's straight away going after you know Tony Storm, the women's champion. It kind of is that Tony doesn't really lose anything by losing because she has already done a lot. Like her first title reign, like she faced everyone. The thing is, and also I think it's a good way for people to actually know who Megan is because Megan has that kind of Amazonian goddess haughty like. A silent killer gimmick, and Tony's gimmick is that she will talk about you, like she will insult you, maybe your features, maybe how you are as a character. So we'll probably get to know more about Megan Bain more from Tony Storm's mouth as well. So if Megan Bain is not that good on the mic, like Tony Storm kind of does the job of letting people like kind of hate you, or maybe it can make you look like a goof too. But if it makes you look like a goof, maybe then the response that comes from Megan Bain, like it will help get her over with the people. So what I think is probably going to happen is because she has already beaten Thunder Rosa, so now I think it's probably that Megan Bain and Penelope Ford will have kind of like a mini feud between the larger Megan Bain Tony Storm feud with Willow Nightingale and Chris Statlander, which is good that they're having a storyline which has multiple layers. Not only that they have mini feuds in a longer feud, and also that you have the Willow Nightingale and Chris Statlander, yeah, their what their situation is. So that's good also. The only thing is that I like why is Penelope Ford like Penelope Ford is teaming up with Megan Bain because they have a similar interest. Will they like define their relationship more going forward? Because even if currently it kind of works because Penelope Ford's character is like she's a bitch essentially. So she teamed up with Megan Bain because she saw that she's a bitch. Like Megan Bain is someone who is strong, who is fighting them. So let's team up together. And she doesn't mind getting Megan Bain throwing her over other opponents because she's like, I just want to get the win and all. Like it suits her personality. But I think eventually we will get to know what their dynamic is too. So it's good that they are pushing someone like a Megan Bain. It's just that it's I hope that we get more than just her being a silent killer, and we get more into the depth, the nitty gritty of the character. Otherwise, I don't know how much the crowd will respond, because crowd didn't really respond that much when she attacks Statlander though. Also, like we had some segments, Jay White announced himself for the oven, I think, and I didn't really care. I don't know what they do with Jay White. I think he'll either like again interfere next week, because Moxley and Cope are having a street fight. Maybe he directly causes a Cope to lose, because he talked about people talking about how did I attack him or intentionally or not. Like we can clearly see that you didn't attack him intentionally. So we're probably gonna see him next week too, in that match, because it's a street fight. And I think they're doing this match because the all the talk is happening. It has blown up that how much less has Cope lost. So they're trying to maybe get that out of the, oh, Cope does lose, but the thing is he's again gonna lose, but he's gonna lose in a screwy way, that there's going to be interferences and he loses. There's not going to be a straight away way for him to lose it. Then also was that, first of all, the thing that is weird for me, that you're having Ricochet versus Shibata at Collision, for the Dynasty tournament. But then it also looks like you're teasing Omega and Shibata also. So I'm like, if Shibata loses to Ricochet, like who cares about Kenny's match against Shibata? Maybe I don't really understand how the dynasty tournament even works. You have the dynasty tournament, then you have the over next, and I'm like, so much is happening. The thing is, the segment that I did really like was the MJF and the MVP segment. Like MJF came out and he essentially said that he's not done with Hangman, that and everything, like it's not over until I say. Then MVP comes out and MVP actually brings up a thing, I read on Twitter, like MJF's like bringing up MJF's self-loathing, about how he really craves for the approval and attention of those people who he actually despises and puts down, is a good character arc in his all his storylines, which I like, because when you bring out these intricacies in MJF's character, it makes him more compelling rather than him just being an edge lord, because that's just like the cookie cutter stuff that you see. And there you see they're having him feud with Jeff Jarrett over the most baseline stuff, and then when they pivoted, they're doing like probably the best stuff on the show with Hangman. And now with MVP too, like MVP came out and he said that, why are you bitching and moaning? Like, why aren't you beating people up? Why aren't you showing the people that why you should be champion? Like MJF said that, buddy, I was champion for 406 days, and he was like, you was, but you're not anymore. Because MVP brought up the fact that in Florida based promotions, he actually told him that he is going to be champion one day, for which MJF responded, and he was like, why aren't you hurting people? So I'm giving you an offer. He gave him his card, that you may join me. And I mean, if MJF is smart, he would join, because the thing is, what has happened to him before is that since he has come back, the interferences has kind of worked against him. Like, remember the Adam Cole feud, remember the Hangman feud, this feud that where he got distracted because he was so into like, why are these people not with me? But if he has interference, he even if he does get distracted, he doesn't really need to care about it. So if MJF is kind of smart, he will take that option. And then the segment ended. You also had, continuing this, like Hangman came backstage. I'm like, it's very funny because TNA and AEW comes on the same channel on in India, so it comes on Eurosport. I don't know what their deal with Eurosport is AEW, because AEW does not show up on Discovery Plus, which is like Eurosport's like online streaming platform. But TNA does, because TNA has an extensive deal. Like they have a deal where they have their own kind of like a Sunday Dhamal which Sony does for WWE, but they have Pehelwani ka Pataka and something like that. They have the TNA greatest matches showing during the commercial break. They have those like backstage interviews which like TNA does showing in the commercial break. So it's very weird that when an AEW like show goes into commercial break for us in India, like you saw like Mickey James fighting someone in TNA. So it's pretty like funny, weird to me. Hangman came out and Rene Paquette asked him, "What are you gonna do next?" And he was like, "I'm gonna go after the world championship." MJF interrupts him and he was like, do you want me to break your neck, boy?" and everything. Like that boy, that the way MJF says boy, like it feels sexual a lot. Then Hangman was like, "I know that you say that you don't, but you do really care about what these people think, and I don't believe that you're about to light me on fire because you didn't mean it." And MJF was like, "You want to test me that if I really wanted to light you on fire or not? You listen to me, Hangman, that 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 these people will turn on you one day if they didn't see you win the big one, like if you keep failing and all." So I like how their feud has the world title in it. I like how the world title is finally on the minds of people that it should have been since the start. Like Hangman and MJF, clearly the world title is an important part in their character arcs, in their story overall, in the company as well, and against each other. Like you saw Will Ospreay, he also wants to go after the title because that's also very central to him. It's just that that gimmick has been like dropped about saving AEW, because they clearly recognize that it's kind of like their second takeover angle and it wasn't working, so they have like pivoted it to the world title is important, while they could have done both at the same time from the start, and maybe the Death Rider stuff could have worked also. I just don't like that Hangman, like the baby facey Hangman that we are seeing. It gives me vibes of the earlier Hangman, and I don't like it. It just feels because he seems so vanilla in that. He already has a pretty vanilla voice, and he seems very vanilla in that baby facey role. I just don't like it. And another thing is, it doesn't make sense what MJF said. I like the storyline, but MJF saying that they will turn on you when like if you don't win the big one, he has already won the big one, and it was not like some like little moment like he was very young and he won the big one and everything. He had a year long storyline going through alcoholism, friendship betrayal and all, and in the end he defeated his biggest op, Kenny Omega, in the main event of a pay-per-view and won the world championship. So it doesn't make sense. You also had a Mercedes Monet backstage interview where she came out. She couldn't speak because her throat was all kicked up, and Rene Paquette did "It's the CEO Mercedes Monet" like thing, and then she was interrupted by Billy Starks, who was dressed like a housewife who has like three kids and is working, and is working in the kitchen. Like it felt like she was wearing a, what do you say, nighty or something like that. And Billy Stark's gimmick is essentially like she's an underdog, like she's gonna beat her and everything. Like, so next week they're having a match. Like people are saying Athena may show up, and maybe she will. It's just that I don't really watch Ring of Honor, but was it like Billy Starks now evolved that she's not really the like the person who doesn't know anything underdog now? Because didn't she go up against Athena, like she finally like went against it? Of course she's back with her now, but that doesn't mean that the character evolution of her not being like knowing nothing, like underdog, like baby face, is like gone now. Like it just feels like something Vince would do. Like you have like a character evolution and a gimmick very different, in like NXT, and then you come on the main roster, everything of that is forgotten and you start from scratch. It feels like that what is happening. And I heard that they have put Harley Cameron with hologram of all people. Who cares about hologram? Even if he do care, he's an attraction. Like Harley Cameron is someone who got over. Like she should be in the mid card. Like have, like I'm not saying like give her like big feuds, but you have like give her like 5 minutes with like have her do like a comedy feud or something, but on her own, not putting on a mask and be with hologram of all people. Like, why are you killing her momentum that she has? Just or maybe add her in the Statlander stuff. Like, I don't know, man. Like, do something with her. Or if you don't want to do something with her, then just take her off TV until you have something for her. Like, this is something that I don't get. If you don't have something for someone, to take them off TV, then have them return when you do. I don't get it. You also had the great Christian Cage segment because with like he told Renee that you are related to John Moxley. I'm not gonna say anything to someone related to Moxley. This is going to be the longest boring interview. The Nick Wayne, was like, you need to explain to us that you held that like what is your your Temu money in the bank for like months, and now you are not the AEW World Champion anymore. You got to explain to, and he was like, who the fuck are you to talk to me? And then Mama Wayne stepped up and he was like, oh, you really want to say something for me? Like think about before, like what you were doing, working as a waitress in Waffle House or something. And then he told Nick Wayne again, like, I'm not like your father. Like your father died in front of your mom. I am not that person. I don't need to prove anything to you. So if you have a problem with me, like show me. Like I'm not really doing justice to this segment. Like he really turned dog shit into something, because he said that what I was trying to do was I was trying to pin Copeland when he had me in a choke, so I didn't really tap out. It was very, now that I say it, it feels very funny, but it shows how good Christian Cage is. Like he turned dog shit into something compelling. One thing is that has there been any tensions between Wayne and the rest of the patriarchy with Christian Cage for the past few months, because it felt like something that came out of nowhere. I do feel like Christian Cage has done a lot of work trying to get these guys over, but it's just that they don't feel like they have evolved at all. They feel like they're on the same level that they were before. I hope that now, if they are doing a patriarchy breakup, maybe it results in evolution of these characters. Be it Mama Wayne, be it with Nick Wayne, be it the other guy. Let's see what happens. Then also you had stuff. I think the last hour is that then Cassidy, you had the Max Caster open challenge. Like Max Caster is the greatest in the world. Like I I don't mind his gimmick because he's essentially a guy who gets the faces over. He's kind of like the like what you remember, like Heath Slater back in the day, where he was like, "Come on, face me out," and they just beat him up. I think he's kind of like in that column. He's funny to me, like his current character, his delusion, Maximaniacs, and all that. Because I think maybe it's because of his accent. Konosuke Takeshita comes out and he beats his ass. He was about to pin him, but then he, chooses against it, like slaps him around and then hits another move and pins him. It's just that why is Konosuke Takeshita not going directly against Kenny Omega? I just don't understand why will Konosuke Takeshita will come out and face Max Caster. Like he's so angry that he's gonna wait for Max Caster to come into the ring, like give his old like speech and then come out and beat him up. Why not just try to beat up Kenny Omega earlier in the show? I don't get it. But it did get angry Takeshita over, maybe giving him some heat back after he lost his match. Let's see what happens. Like are there going to be dissension? Are there going to be anything? Then Will Ospreay had a segment where it's just that even there, like him doing like story time with Will Ospreay, talking about how his wife was cross about him doing moves from the top of the steel cage about he got like 15 missed calls and like him trying to be really funny and all. It's just that it worked in certain parts. Like some parts people like, oh, wife and all that. Like you do this segments, those characters do this segments when they're like really over, and Will Ospreay is that. But this crowd is so weird. Like they were silent throughout. When a wrestler does a story time like that, you have to give a reaction that you're really interested in every word that they're saying, that you're reacting to every word in some way. So it felt kind of like awkward at times for me. And he said that Kyle Fletcher is going to be world champion one day, and that my focus is now on the Owen, that I'm going to come for the AEW World Championship, bro. And he really, man, he isn't that British in real life, man. He really like lays in on the British accent there. So he announced that. So what is going to happen? Like, is Osprey going to win the Owen, and is he going to defeat Moxley? And maybe we get, when Darby Allin comes back, a Will Osprey and Darby Allin match. I don't know. Maybe I think Osprey may win, but he is going to remain the champion. I think Moxley is going to beat a lot of like guys who you see that should be the world champion. Maybe like temper their momentum as well. Like people like Swerve, like people like Osprey. I think he's going to beat them, and then Darby is going to come back, and then he's going to beat Moxley. And also you had the main event, which was JR was there because maybe they want to like make the dynasty tournament look great. You had Hichichero versus Orange Cassidy. So boring ass match. There were like certain parts where they did cheer for Orange, but most of the match they were silent. Like I liked how they were working that Orange's knee was bad, so it was like really like hurting against him doing the Orange ones. I like that. It's just that I don't think this was the match that this crowd really needed to come alive. They needed like a fast paced Orange Cassidy match to really like end the show on a high, to like have the crowd really invested. Like I said about the Lyra versus Ivy Nile match, that match was good. Like that match was fine, like her working on her leg, like everything, but not for that crowd. That crowd, if you wanted to get them invested into you, you needed a fast paced like match, and this crowd needed that match. They made Hichichiro look really good. Like in the end, like he just won with a roll up, and then after the match, Speedball Mike Bailey came out and he was like, yeah, pointing because they're having a match next week in the tournament. And also, Speedball is the wild card. I really wanted him to come to NXT. Like he would have been a great fit in that NXT North American title scene. But okay, let's see what they do with him in AEW. Let's see what they do with him there. So Orange won in the end, and I think that was a pretty fine show. A 3 hour, from the hour that I see, a 3 out of 5, a 3.25, 3.35, in that range. A range between 3 and 4 out of 5 is probably from what I would give Dynamite, because that is the portion that I saw. So, what did you think about the AEW Dynamite episode? So, tell me in the comment section below. So, if you like this type of content, like, share, and subscribe. If you don't, then share it with those who do. My social media links, which are my X/Twitter link, and my Instagram links, are in the description, so go follow me on that. My UPI ID link, which is shareboy@okicici, is in the description also, so go donate any amount of money which you can, which can help me make YouTube a permanent career option. So that was it for me for right now. So thank you, goodbye, and alvida.